Online. I'm Dan. This is Isaiah.
Hey there, hey there.
And today we're back again. We're going to talk Until Dawn, Point Break. Yeah, that movie from the night. It is the most 90s movie of all time. But first, we're going to do our question of the week, which is, what TV series had the worst series finale? And now I brought two up here because if we're talking about final season, there's two epic ones here that I thought were pretty brutal. Now I've been watching Breaking Bad again, and as soon as we get past the point where Gustavo Fring, spoilers, has his face blown off, it takes kind of a dive. Now there's an exception. The reason these two aren't my answer is because the final episode for both of these are awesome. But if you think about Breaking Bad, do you like any of that like white supremacist stuff?
I don't remember. I remember liking the last season, but it's definitely, I think the problem with it is it's like a huge tonal shift. Or not even tonal, genre shift. Like I think the moment when, once again, we're going spoilers, once Hank dies to the final episode, that's where the show kind of takes a little bit of a dip.
Because this derpy guy,
I love that actor. I don't remember him in the show at all.
What? He's the guy. He's like, he takes over, and he and that Uncle Jack.
I'm saying it's been a while since I saw this show.
Maybe you blocked it out because it does suck when they start taking over. This guy and Jesse Plemons' character. Oh my God, the series is so boring.
Because I'm thinking,
and then they capture Jesse and put him under like a bunker or whatever and make him cook for. It's so bad.
As I said, like Walter being on the run, like I said, it changes genres kind of almost. Like I think it thematically works, and like you were saying, I think the final episode really, like I really like the final episode of the show a lot. Like how it thematically ties everything together. Like I still have this memory of
it's the final episode, not the final season.
Yeah. When I watched the final episode, I posted on Facebook and I said, man, that has to be like probably the perfect wrap up for one of my favorite shows. And, you know, this is especially back time when I was still a little bit more connected with the out there church I was a part of. The guy comes and says, you're saying a show about a guy who cooks meth is one of the best shows. And I was like, yes, the whole point of the show is that he's a bad person and he's the villain. Congratulations on and telling me you have never watched the show before and you're just complaining for no reason.
It's unbelievable. But yeah, it's if you ever get the chance, just go back and watch that last season, and it's just hard to watch. But the final episode with him forcing that couple that he started the company with, Gretchen and whatever the guy's name was, to donate the money to his kids, so he got what he wanted at the end.
Yeah,
going through creating that little self-shooting turret thing to kill all the Nazi guys, that was entertaining. Jesse getting free. Now it's from 2008. Leave me alone.
Yeah, and we already said we were talking spoilers.
Jesse getting free. Perfect. Then they did that little spin-off movie El Camino.
Mm-hmm.
And then Walter dying, but not of cancer. That was like, I'm like, please just don't let this guy die.
Isn't the twist like, or not, I guess not twist, but isn't there like a big plot point in the show where it's like, oh, you're cancer free now?
Yeah.
That's where, like, as we're going to get to in a little bit, where a different show decides to have their Breaking Bad character change, but instead of doing it gradually throughout an entire series, they like that's the thing with Walter. You get to see him start as like, oh, I'm doing this for my family, to now he's kind of just like a straight up bad guy now, and he's not doing it for his family anymore. He's doing it for himself. And you get to see that change throughout the show.
He does admit that to his wife in the final episode.
Yeah.
So but yeah, great final episode, final season, especially if you put that final season up against like mid shows, it's obviously better.
Yeah.
But if you compare it to the rest of the series, not so good. Same exact thing here. The final season of Dexter with the brain surgeon, very mid, especially when you compare it to the first. People like to only give credit to the first 4 seasons, but it's really the first 6. Because the 5th season is with Julia Stiles, and then the 6th one is with Tom Hanks.
Even then, I think like even then, a lot of the seasons afterwards are still good. They're maybe not on the same like
Yeah.
They're not as good as, like, let's say seasons 1 through 4, but they're still good. I remember I didn't really start to fall, and I say fall off very lightly until like episode or like seasons 8, 9, and ish there.
8 was the last season of the regular one.
Or sorry, I don't know. I thought 10. Sorry.
7 was with Ray.
6, 7, 8. Yeah.
Ray, whatever. 6 is with Tom Hanks' son. It's like the religious one. I think people didn't like that, but it's quite good.
I liked this. Like, I didn't like it when it started off, but as it kept going, I liked that season more and more. Like, when you finally got to see more of the bigger picture of what was going on, it became more entertaining.
Yeah.
With that show for me, or with that season for me.
But the thing with the final episode of this one is that people were complaining, oh, it wasn't a happy ending. You know, they like to cry about it. But the truth of the matter is the whole series was about Dexter looking to become more human. And then with, again, spoilers, the death of Deb, he realized that no matter what he does, no matter how hard he tries, he's going to still, everyone around him is going to be in danger. Even his sister, you know, whatever. So that's why people didn't like the final episode. But in actuality, the final episode was perfect for his character. So
I know for me, I'm one of the people that doesn't really like the final episode, but it's not for those reasons, because I do like what they were going for. I just didn't like the execution of it. I really felt like.
In what sense?
Like what they did, like I guess how they did everything, like how Deb dies and what he decides to do afterwards. I just felt like that was not.
Spoilers are fine.
Yeah, I was saying like that wasn't really satisfying for me. Like the idea of, you know, he's done all these bad things, it's always going to catch up to him, and he's not going to have this perfect happy life. That's in tune with the entire show. Like, you even look at like the end of, like, people don't complain about the end of season 4 where it's just like, yeah, something really bad happens to him because of what he's been doing. I just remember feeling like, once again, it's been a while since I saw that show, so I can't remember the exact reasons, but I remember feeling like I like what they were going for. I didn't like the execution. Maybe I need to rewatch it and I'll have different feelings on it. It's been a long time since the show aired that I watched it.
If you give me literally anything, I can tell you, because I've seen it 50 times.
That's why I'm telling you. I just remember how I felt. It's been so long, I can't remember exact points. I just remember liking what they were going for, not liking the execution. That's all I really remember. Maybe I'm misremembering. Maybe I'm wrong. Like I said, I didn't watch this show every single year like you did. So, and I've also changed my mind on things, you know, from when I watched them the first time to when I watched them the second time, which could very well be the case with this as well. I don't know. That's just what I remember feeling. I could be wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I could help you if you gave me anything. But
unfortunately, I can't help myself. So.
All right. So those out of the way, this is my real answer. Well, to be honest, I was typing up my real answer and I realized it was Isaiah's answer, which we'll get.
This is both of our answers. We both agree on both of these.
Yeah, honestly. So Dexter New Blood, the first 9 episodes. So this one was 10, I believe. Yeah, 10 episodes. The first 9 episodes were solid. Gives Dexter a new setting. The only thing that wasn't totally Dexter on this one is that he only killed a couple people throughout the whole season, which is fine, because the majority of it was him in this place where he doesn't have his means of disposing of a body, trying to keep a cover up.
Yeah, it's like him slipping back into what he used to do. But the important thing was slipping back into what he'd do, but still not crossing the line, just going back to where he was. Yeah. Very important distinction there, which the end of this, the final episode completely forgets.
Yeah. They really screwed up, because obviously Dexter Resurrection comes out this year and they're just trying to right this wrong. Another thing we're going to talk about actually in our Thunderbolts review coming up in a couple days. But anyways, actually it'll be at the end of this episode, but it'll be in a couple days for YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So incentive to join the live stream ? Anywho, so at the end of spoilers for Dexter New Blood 2021, at the end of the series, they decide to totally cuck Dexter. He's in jail most of the episode. I believe he kills Clancy Brown in the previous episode.
Yeah,
correct?
he kills him at the end of the previous episode,
which was one of the best parts of the series. So
yeah, like Clancy Brown was a fantastic villain because just like reminded me of like all the good villains from Dexter, where it's like you can tell where he's not so different from Dexter in their kind of like psychotic nature, but Dexter still has the code that keeps him, you know, different from other people. And I like that. I think even with like, or no, but that's the kind of little bit of the twist now I remember with Clancy Brown, which is like he didn't stop. He kept doing it and kept doing it.
Yeah.
Right? Or was it that he had stopped for a long time as well? I can't remember.
I believe he had a tomb of just unlimited females down there. So yeah, I believe he kept doing it.
But yeah, it was very good. All the character interactions, Dexter just being Dexter again. And then what do they do for the final episode?
Yeah. Through 9 episodes, they were letting Dexter do his thing, and then they throw him in jail and kill him. Well, he's in jail for most of the episode, most of the final episode.
Yeah.
Breaks the cop's neck, this Alano Miller guy down here.
Yeah, it's like they don't just like keep him in jail and then kill him. It's he suddenly goes against his code and starts killing innocents, and it's supposed to be this whole look what you've become, and you've become that which you always hated, and we have to put you down now. And it's like, where was that this entire season?
Yeah.
I remember when we first watched this episode, I think even when we first were doing like our podcast, we talked about this. I was thinking like, you know, like if they had throughout the entire season showed him slowly but surely starting to break certain parts of his code, then the final episode would have made sense because you've been building up to that throughout the entire season. But they don't. It is literally just the last episode where they want to have their, you know, Breaking Bad character. And it's like, no, that's...
The problem that I had with it, though, isn't that because the first rule of the code is don't get caught. And all the other rules are set up not to get caught. So he's caught. So now he's got to do whatever he can, like a rat chewing off his arm to get out of a glue trap. You know, so that part didn't bother me as much as the whole setup of him. If you're gonna kill him at the end of the episode, you gotta let him be out and about. You can't just confine him to this one spot. Then he gets to the final location and his son shoots him. It's so stupid. They had this idea of, oh well, Harrison can take over the series called Dexter. Okay, sure, but they flipped it. Dexter Resurrection's coming. They're trying to overwrite this travesty.
Yeah.
Looking at this woman, maybe the original series wasn't as good. Maybe the first 9 episodes weren't as good as I'm remembering, because I remember not liking this Julia Jones, Angela Bishop.
Well, once again, I remember not liking her in the last episode because she just, once again, just treats Dexter like he is nothing but evil, even though she's learned all this stuff about how he's not this. It's not this black and white thing. And then she just flips on him without a second thought is the thing.
You think
like,
it's
there's
just
no
a
moral
bad
dilemma
taste left in my mouth?
Well, it's, you know what, how I view it is very similar to like how I view Star Wars, where it's just like, man, you know, that last, at least for me, you know, that last, and that last movie just ruined all of the sequel movies, which I remember really liking, you know, episode 7, and I really, really liked episode 8, and that last episode has made them worse, in my opinion, as well now. Because one of the things I say is, you know, episode 8 I like in isolation, but as the second movie in a trilogy, it's pretty bad. And it's that hindsight where you look back at it maybe and you get to recontextualize everything that was building up to it. Be like, maybe it wasn't as good as it was because you're looking at it as a bigger picture, or, you know, as a piece of the whole instead of just a thing on its own.
Yeah. And this woman, this Molly Park, was such an irritating character. She was horrible. She was like a news reporter, a podcaster or something. But yeah, all right, last one.
The one that we both thought of first.
Yeah.
How I Met Your Mother. This was like, I don't know how it was for you, but like this was like the sitcom for me growing up. Yeah. Like my brother was obsessed with it, all my friends, all of his friends. We were just talking about this show, watching all the episodes nonstop. We were quoting it nonstop, especially Barney.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that he was the guy to quote. And I thought of this question because I was watching a video that it's a little bit old, but it was talking about like 10 years ago, like, you know, the finale 10 years later, how did it work? And they go through the entire basic idea of the show and then why the final episode doesn't work. And it made me, and he's talking about this final episode. I was like, man, I blocked the actual final episode from my mind so much that I had tricked myself into believing that the alternate ending that they had done was the actual ending for the show.
What was the alternate?
They get rid of all of the bad stuff. So spoilers for the super old sitcom, but at the very end, where this entire show is about How I Met Your Mother, and a reminder, the entire final season is about Barney and Robin's wedding. What happens in the final episode? Well, they say, okay, 2 years later, Robin and Barney get a divorce. Barney goes back to his old ways and undoes all the character arc stuff that he went through. And then, oh yeah, cool. You have this really great scene with Ted meeting the mother. Like, you actually get to see where he meets the mother for the first time. And then they immediately kill her off. And actually, the entire point of the show was, hey, kids, can I have your permission to get together with Robin? Because she's the woman I really love. And that's like the ending of this show. And they completely undo basically all of that. Where like the mother isn't dead. And the final scene that the show leaves you on is that scene of when he meets her for the first time. Because like when he meets her for the first time, they cut away before you actually get to view the scene. I think at the beginning of this episode or something. Or the season. But they get to show you that. And it actually, I don't know. It works really well for that redone ending. Where you can tell like the reason why they stuck with the ending they did, and this was an interesting part of the video, is because they had decided in the middle of season 2 that, oh, Ted's gonna end up with Robin. Right. So, and they had to shoot that ending because they knew that the kids were gonna grow up.
I did hear that they shot the ending of the kids learning like way in the beginning.
Yeah, they decided how it was gonna end in the middle of season 2. The problem is that by the middle of season 3, they had this arc with Ted and Robin where they realized, hey, we're not good for each other. Yeah. And they never seemed to be romantically involved again after that, really. And in fact, there's an entire episode in the last season of Ted finally moving on from Robin.
Yeah.
Like where she actually like floats up into the air away from him where he lets her go. And then what do they do for the final episode? Well, just kidding, actually. I couldn't actually let her go. And she couldn't. And this whole entire thing that we did... Oh, never mind. Let's just undo that all. It's really bad. Yeah. It's so bad. Like it made me think of what happened. I don't want to say too much because I don't think you're up to date on the manga, but it reminded me of something they did in Jujutsu Kaisen near the end of it, where it's just like, hey, you know this thing that we've been that the entire premise of this thing has been building up to. Well, let's just undo it immediately, so it feels like you just wasted a whole season.
Yeah, and you know, with this How I Met Your Mother, it really is kind of sad as well, because you spend this whole series, I mean, obviously you like the main characters, but you spend this whole series with Ted. He's just looking to fall in love, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And I find myself disliking Robin the more the series goes on.
Yeah.
And then when he finally meets this gal, this wonderful, like, little bit snarky, like witty, she can bounce back and forth with him. They have that scene with the umbrella where they're like, oh, I think you'll see that it's my umbrella. TM Tracy, I can't remember her last name.
No, not
McConnell.
Tracy Morgan's
I think
different.
I TM think you're mistaken. It's Ted it's like a cute little scene where you meet your, you know.
Something cool I learned from the video is they had planned for the mother to be, because people had been speculating that, oh, it's somebody we already know or something like that. But
the cake girl that moves to Germany, right?
But they actually let you know from the beginning that the mother was her the entire time, because there's I think the guy says, like, who's in the video, like episode 10 of the first season, the guy, like, he says, oh, he meets like a stripper, and she goes, this is my name. My actual name is Tracy. And then he goes, and that's How I Met Your Mother, kids. And they go, what? He goes, no, I'm just kidding. But the reason they reacted to that is because their mom's name was actually Tracy.
Right.
And so they kind of gave that away, you know, a little bit earlier on in the show, like that. Where it's just like, you know, that was kind of the idea for it. Now, was she the character she was supposed to be? Maybe not, but...
This was the backup.
Yeah, and that, so she was the one where if the show got canceled, she would have ended up being the mother.
Yeah.
But yeah, great show. What
was I saying?
Sorry.
I lost my train of thought.
You're talking about the mother. She was super nut. Like Robin, you disliked, and then
it's sad because the whole time you're thinking, oh, he finally meets this woman, but then when they reveal that she's been dead for this entire story, you're like, am I supposed to feel good about this ending? No. It's terrible.
Yeah, the show's called How I Met Your Mother, and that's why the alternate ending works, is because how does the show end? By them playing the scene where he met her for the first time.
Yeah.
How does the actual show end? With him saying, so that's how I met your mother, and I told you this story because I want you guys to give me permission to marry Robin.
Not only Robin, but they call her Aunt Robin.
Yeah.
How weird is that?
Where it's just like...
It's not weird that they call her Aunt Robin, but it's weird that they call her Aunt Robin and he wants to date her.
Yeah, it's so... It makes no sense. Like the fact that they were able to fix it so easily with the alternate ending by just removing the scenes with the kids. It's just like, sure, maybe you have to change the ending to make it better by not having the kids' reaction to it. But it's if it makes for the better ending because you changed the direction of the show as it went on, don't just swerve it back to where you originally were going to end it just because that's what you already filmed.
The kids aren't going to be surprised that you met their mother.
Yeah.
So
it's
very strange, very strange way to end it, and it's sad because it's one of the best. It's Seinfeld level in my eyes. I've never seen Friends, but you know it's up there as one of the best ever.
Yeah, I'd say it's like it's our, you know, 9? It's like
9 or 8,
somewhere along there. Yeah, 9 right there. Last season 9.
There you go.
But yeah, I'd say it's like our generations. Or maybe my generations or your generations. Whenever it came out,
my generation's in between Seinfeld and this. Yeah, so I'll claim this.
I'd say like this was like we didn't like. I watched episodes of Seinfeld because my parents would put it on, but Friends was before my time, really. I guess this was like what we watched all the time.
Oh, never mind. This. Yeah,
I
this
think
is way before.
I think I think it was like you were between Friends and this. Friends was late 90s, right?
Okay, now we're talking. Oh, okay,
yeah, or mid-90s. Yeah,
that's my wheelhouse.
Yeah, this was like that was definitely my thing there.
Yeah, let us know what yours is down in the comments, or just reply on Twitch.
Yeah, your least favorite series finale.
And conversely, what's your favorite series finale? Because I gave you a couple that I like the ending to as well. So
I mean, maybe we'll answer that question next week.
Yeah, and we'll have to pick something other than Breaking Bad and Dexter.
Yeah.
So,
all right, I just wanted to quickly talk about this because I saw this. Now, typically, you're just like, okay, yeah, Netflix, it's removing movies and TV shows, whatever. Usually, it's okay, we can pirate it. However, this is a unique situation with Black Mirror Bandersnatch because do you know anything about Black Mirror Bandersnatch?
I've seen a few episodes of Black Mirror, but I don't remember it.
Okay, so this isn't from the TV show. This is a movie.
Definitely not.
This is a movie they released, and I cannot recommend this movie enough. But the only real way to watch it is on Netflix because it's not just a movie. It's a choose your own adventure movie where something will happen and you make a choice, and that will affect where the movie goes from there. The really cool thing about this movie is you doing that is part of the plot of the movie. And you having to like restart is part of the plot in the movie. It is one of the most entertaining experiences I've ever had because I went into it just expecting to be your run-of-the-mill, choose your own adventure thing. And it is nothing like that.
Weird.
It's so unique. Like, I guess slight spoilers from this because they're not gonna have much time to watch it. And like I said, it's gonna be near impossible to watch the way it's meant to be if you do. But I made a choice. And it led to like a bad ending. So I restarted, went to that choice. And then when I make the second choice, the guy goes, wait, I feel like I just had deja vu or something like that. Like where the show recognizes that this is your second time through it. And then you making those choices do affect.
How does it know that?
It's got to be this just interconnected. Like they have so many scenes filmed that will change what plays based off of what choice you make and what choice you make the second time or the third time, different stuff like that.
Interesting.
That's why I said it's really genius because it made me question like how did they actually make this thing? Because it's so different. I know it was a thing because Netflix removed a lot of their choose your adventure stuff they were doing, but Bandersnatch and the Kimmy Schmidt one were one of the ones that stayed, and I thought it was because people praise this movie so much. It's really good. Yeah. But now I guess they're getting rid of it too, and I'm just like, it's not the type of movie that you can just download off of something or put on a different streaming platform and just watch normally because it's not a normal movie. You have to like select a choice and go. That's why I think this is just a clear example of why like digital only is such a travesty. If you had a DVD of this, it would work basically the same way. And they've said that, oh, they're doing this because it's the type of format needed to have this movie doesn't work with where their new server, how their new servers run or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, cool, release a physical version of the movie at least, that way we can buy it and experience the movie still.
Yeah.
But once this is gone, there's no way to watch this really.
Wow.
Unless it did get a DVD launch that I did not hear or couldn't find. But I just feel like unless another streaming platform picks it up and has it presented, can present it in the same way that Netflix did with it, it's just not going to work at all. But yeah, for people who have Netflix, please watch this movie before it goes. You will not regret it at all. It is so entertaining. I lost myself for like maybe 2.5, 3 hours experiencing as much as I could from this. And the performances are really great. You have Will Poulter in it as one of the main characters. He's fantastic. Everything about this movie. I'm going to rewatch for them
it. Removing it.
They say that the reason why is because they can't support this format of movie anymore with the way that their servers are changing. And I just think that's kind of dumb. I don't know. Like I said, there's ways to like release it on DVD then. Like even if it's like you don't want to release a single DVD for this, for like this, Kimmy Schmidt and a couple of the other ones that you had, release it as like a collection. I don't know. It's a shame because I've never watched, like before I watched this, I had never experienced a piece of like TV/movie in this way ever before. It was a first for me.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge fan of choose your own adventure stuff. You know, I'm hugely inspired by some of the books back in the day. But this took like in typical Black Mirror fashion, it takes this idea and flips it on his head and kind of makes you think more about it. I really like the show and I really like this movie, and it's a damn shame that Netflix is getting rid of it like they are.
Xbox raised the price of all Xbox Series consoles. Games confirmed to hit $80 a piece this holiday.
Yeah.
We understand that these changes are challenging. Okay, whatever. So this is a list of what the prices are going to be. People weren't buying this dumbass console when it was $299. They think they're going to pay $80 more. What was the one that was shocking?
They're saying it's because of tariffs.
Right.
But I'm just like, it's an old console. People aren't going to be buying this stuff. Like,
just pretend count for digital games? Did Trump tariff the digital? Yeah, okay, Xbox. Cool. Not to mention, Xbox is a what country? Is an American country. Yep. Whose fault is it that Xbox has these games made in China? Or these consoles?
Everything's made out of...
Is it Trump's fault that Xbox outsources their company to China? No, it's not. Yeah. That's his point for... half of his point for some of the tariffs. Make it here. Like, what are you doing?
Like, I'm not going to get all into this.
No, but...
not saying I disagree with you, but it's just this...
Look at the price of this 2-terabyte console. $730. When did this come out? 2020? Along with this PS5 was 2021,
yeah. And you want us to pay how much more money for all this?
$730 for just not a very good console.
No.
We're going to talk about why in a moment as well. All right. This game is a quite the revelation these the past little bit here. Clair Obscur Expedition 33, which I wonder if we're going to get, I mean, especially with all these copies sold, if we're going to get some sort of series where it'll be Clair Obscur, Clair, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Expedition 33 has a very significant meaning in the story. Very confusing story. I'm still pretty early on, but 2 million plus copies sold, and this was from Tuesday. So we got 3 more days worth of sales added to it.
Yeah. I'm thinking of buying it soonish, even though I don't plan on playing it anytime soon, just to support the game.
Support the cause.
Because like I do want to play this game.
Yeah, sure.
I need to finish Metaphor first. Like
said 12 days in. So there you go.
That's pretty
awesome. Congratulations, and we're going to talk about.
Let's see, surprise! When you make good games, people will buy them.
Yeah. Did you hear the story about this? About this game? Do I have it here? So, the director of Claire Obscure says the game would have taken over 2 decades to be greenlit had he pitched it to AAA, and
because they need to stick their fingers and micromanage every single thing.
And not only that, but the director and all the crew. The director was a bored ex-Ubisoft employee who just wanted to do something, and then he got these talented people who were just kind of doing nothing, and they bang out this game that is, especially when I hear the backstory. I gave it a little huff last week for the running, because the running's still weird to me, but the game is gorgeous.
Yeah. I mean,
gorgeous in terms of art.
And I think this is what's matter is the game isn't perfect, but you can tell that there's a lot of heart and love put into the game, which you feel when you're playing it. So, you know.
So here's a little graph up on this dude's thing here of JRPGs on Steam, 785.2 thousand, and Metaphor, which was a banger of a success. But that's just specifically just Steam,
and I'd say that does affect things, because you look at like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, where the Steam version didn't release till a year later.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
Whereas like for Expedition 33, if it's the first time it's coming out, people are gonna buy that. And I feel like with Metaphor, you know, it's a, you know, I don't know, there's weird stuff going on with like the way that Atlas promoted that game, because I didn't plan on buying that game at all until I saw the reviews. And I think thankfully, because of Expedition 33 and its story, I think is definitely what's propagating it to be, you know, be picked up by more and more people, because, you know, people like supporting things that kind of go against the grain. And this is what something I'd say is, like, I feel like you look at a lot of games that are on here, at least 3 of them, where they're all Atlas games, like Persona, both the Personas and Metaphor. I feel like Atlas is like a really good company when it comes to having their finger on the pulse of what people like when it comes to JRPGs. I think that's interesting as well, because Final Fantasy VII Rebirth is on here. If you've been watching us at all, you know our thoughts on that game. None of these are bad games, which this is what I'm trying to figure out.
Specifically, and I think that Persona, and it says Persona 5 Royal specifically, meaning the original Persona probably isn't on Steam.
Yeah, I think the original Persona 5 was
PS4 exclusive.
Yeah, PS4 exclusive. And that's the thing, is I feel like a lot of these audiences
thing with these is that these are console, PlayStation these are people who play these games on PlayStation. This isn't exactly like, oh, this game is 3 times the sales of this.
It would be like, you know, if when Final Fantasy VII first came out, if it had also released on Steam, where it's just like...
But I still think the majority of them would have been on console.
That's the thing, is because Final Fantasy VII... Final Fantasy VII Original was like the PlayStation 1 game.
But even if that's not why I pulled this up.
Yeah.
So...
Oh, yeah, there.
Dear Xbox...
Oh, yeah.
Do I need to say anything else?
Well, it's just this idea of make good games, put them at a decent price, and it will sell and you'll make money. The problem is they want to sell you... Here's the problem, is why do they need to sell Star Wars Outlaws for $110? Because nobody's going to pay even $60 for a piece of crap like that, so they need to get as much money as they can out of the people who will buy the game.
Everyone,
whereas you look at Baldur's Gate as well, where I think Baldur's Gate is like $50 or $60, and it's just like they didn't
60.
But with that one, you know, it's just like, hey,
but that's a main AAA game. They could have probably gotten away with milking you.
Well, that's the thing. Even with them, you know, it's kind of a AAA game, but like, you know, the studio was doing their own thing, and it's just the same idea of, hey, make a good game, it will sell well.
Here's the thing about this as well, is that at some point we did the crossover, and we did this in comic books, we did this in well, I don't want to say we did it specifically in movies, but there's a lot of parallels between video games and movies, in that you have some sections of the movies and games who just want to get as many people in and get as many people paid as possible, and it's not about the art. And it's the same thing with movies. Mm-hmm. But here, when you get these people who aren't making this game just to get rich, this is what you get. Because you don't need... He mentions a $600 million budget here, and I think that happens quite a bit with these types of games because people just want to get their money.
Yeah, that and like movies as well. It's like you're saying, it's the same thing where they spend a ton of money on certain movies. Like
it's like, where is this budget?
Yeah. And
it's because you have 9 guys who are producers who aren't doing anything.
Well, that's the problem with AAA, because you look at like Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, where it's like, we really like that movie. Yeah. And you can tell a lot of the budget probably did go into the stunts.
Yeah.
But how much was that budget again? Like, wasn't it like near $1 billion or something?
I don't remember.
Which was insane, where it's just like, why did it need that much money? Where is that going? I don't know. It's
pretty incredible to see when people have passion for something, what they can do with it. And I hope more and more people buy this game and promote this type of behavior because...
Well, here's the thing, and this is what I really love, is at the Game Awards, like the last Game Awards, the guy who made Baldur's Gate, when it won, said, hey, I can tell you the games that are going to be winning Game of the Year and selling well are going to be such and such type of games, where he's talking about, like, you know, they're made with love and things like he's saying that.
Do you think those ones will win the awards?
Well, Baldur's Gate should. I say Baldur's Gate won, and then Astrobot, which was a very similar situation. Like, sure, it's sponsored by Sony, but Sony gave them no money. And they said, hey, just throw whatever you want together on this really tiny budget. But you could tell they had a lot of love for the game, which is why it was successful. And that's where I think is what you're going to see is these games. And once again, not that any of the games on this list here don't have love. I'd actually argue almost all the games that he's showing here are created with a lot of passion. I feel like from these specific studios, especially you look into the background behind like Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth. And it's just like there's so much love that goes into those games. But that's why, like, for me, I'd rather compare it to like a Star Wars Outlaw. You want a good example of this before we really move on, or you want to say your piece at the end there? But I was in Best Buy, and they had Stellar Blade for sale. Guess how much that game was going for? Brand new, $50. Mm-hmm. So it's $10 off from its starting price.
Okay.
Guess how much Star Wars Outlaw was going for? $25-$30.
Oh my god.
Where it's like that Stellar Blade came out, I'm pretty sure, before Star Wars Outlaw. And it's still selling for more. Do you know why? Because people actually are buying that game, so its price is staying up high.
Yeah.
Whereas nobody's buying Star Wars Outlaws, so they have to keep decreasing the price to try to get people to buy the game.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that tells you enough there, where Stellar Blade got so much crap, but it was made by a studio who really cared about what they were doing. You can tell had a lot of love for the game. And say what you want about that game, whether it met your expectations or not, but you can feel that when you play the game, and you can't help but enjoy that aspect of it. So it's like, I don't know.
Yeah. And the conversation about whether they have passion or not doesn't apply to these. It's just simply the JRPGs on Steam, but there's so many games that just are so... I'm so glad that this game's doing well. It's a very weird game. Very warning. But I think it's weird in a positive sense in that I'm curious as to how the story is going to play out.
Hearing the news about this game has essentially reminded me of Baldur's Gate from 2 years ago, where it's just like, oh, unknown thing becoming really good. Baldur's Gate 3 won Game of the Year 2 years ago. I could see the same thing with this game.
Yeah. So guys, I'm on the PlayStation Store.
Yeah, I know. I saw this. I was like, am I tripping or something?
Yeah. And Gears of War Reloaded allegedly is a top to bottom remaster of the original Gears of War, and it's coming out this year. So
in other news, Uncharted is coming to Xbox, I guess. Or you know what? We should have seen this coming, because Final Fantasy VII is coming to Switch, I guess, or Nintendo consoles.
August 26, 25. Now, Gears of War is one up until Gears of War 5, 1 through 4 are some of my favorite games of all time. I have a lot of hours in the PvP. It's so much fun, very enjoyable. I'm not as good at the PvP as I'd like to be, but I love the game. Me and my buddy, this is one of the last games we ever couch co-op together, was Gears of War 4, I believe. And as you get older, you don't really couch co-op with your buddies that much anymore. We did this in Cuphead, and it holds a special place in my soul. But it's incredible to see it on PS5. I literally bought what was the one before this? Xbox Series X. What's the current? Oh, Xbox
so
One.
Stupid names, I can't remember.
Xbox One was the previous one. I literally bought an Xbox One for Gears of War 4. So now I don't have to do that anymore. This Xbox is waving the white flag, but yeah, keep an eye out for this August 26th. I'm very excited. I can't wait to play through this again. My buddy now lives in Vermont, so maybe I'll bring my PlayStation over there and we can. Can you couch co-op on PS5 at all?
It depends on the game.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm
can you do it on the
it.
Xbox? Because remember, that's not a thing in Halo Infinite.
You could when I did this.
I know, but I'm saying Halo Infinite, they promised couch co-op, and then like a year later they said, "Sorry, it's not coming anymore." I know we
Halo
promised
goes to PS5, it's over.
Yeah.
All right. So Grand Theft Auto 6 trailer dropped.
Yeah, I think you and I are in the same boat where we just don't care about these games that much.
No, the game looks good.
Yeah. By the way, that very important distinction. Not because I'm like, oh, I'm one of those people that's like Grand Theft Auto games are terrible.
Yeah.
It's just not my thing.
No. I didn't mean to show like a half-naked dude and say it looked good. But
people who like these games have been saying really good stuff about the trailer, which awesome.
Visual quality-wise, it's excellent.
Yeah.
And they broke the viewership record, 475 million views in the first 24 hours.
I mean, that's Grand Theft Auto for you. I think something happened similar with the first trailer for 6, or it was like for 5 when that got released, where they broke records.
Yeah, it looks good, but I played Grand Theft Auto 5 a little bit because my Destiny friends were, there was a lull, and they're like, oh, let's do some of those heists. And they're fun, but once you do those organized heist missions, and they're a lot of fun. But once you get past that, and it's just like, oh, well, drive around and do whatever. It's like, I'm good.
I'm
all right.
Same thing where my roommate bought the game and played it on my PlayStation. So you'll see I have hours technically in it, but he's the one that always played it.
Yeah.
And I played with him online like for an hour or so, and we had fun just screwing around like you do. But, you know, I think I tried the story or something. I'm just not into these games. I think the most I played of a Rockstar game was Red Dead Redemption 2.
Sure.
And I'm like, it's cool. I just have issues with Rockstar, not the games they make. You know, I think it says something that there was more time between Grand Theft Auto 5 and 6 than there was from Grand Theft Auto 1 to 5.
Yeah.
Because I remember seeing this chart where they released basically a new game every year. Rockstar did, and then Grand Theft Auto 5 came out, and they didn't release a single game for like 7 years until Red Dead 2, because they released Grand Theft Auto Online and just became all about how can we squeeze as much money out of people as possible. It
released originally on the PS3, Xbox 360, so some people own this game on 3 consoles, not PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo. They own it on 3 separate PlayStation
Bethesda did the same thing with Skyrim.
Jesus. Yeah. All right. Check out the Grand Theft Auto trailer if you care, but honestly, it's whatever. All right. When I started watching this movie, Point Break 1991, I swear I had seen this movie.
I've never seen it.
But when I started watching it, I'm like, I don't remember any of this.
Wait. I think I've seen a single clip from this movie, because isn't it in like 21 Jump Street or something where like he turns the gun up and Hot Fuzz. That's right. Yeah, in Hot Fuzz where he shoots it in the air. That's the only thing I know about Point Break. I know nothing else about this movie.
The whole gimmick is that Keanu Reeves is a new FBI agent, and they're looking for bank robbers. They can't find the bank robbers because the bank robbers, once they steal the money, they get out and surf away, I guess. Very weird, very 90s. And the girl who plays in League of Their Own, I believe it's Lori Petty. Gary Busey's in it. Very odd movie, but it's very strange because halfway through the movie, Patrick Swayze's character knows that Keanu Reeves is the cop guy, because Keanu Reeves chases after the car with just with his face out.
Mm-hmm.
But they act like Keanu Reeves is just like hanging back out with them, like he never chased after them shooting his gun in the middle of the... It's a very, very weird movie. But is it good? Yeah, it's pretty good. Patrick Swayze's amazing. Keanu Reeves is...
that era of his
See
movies.
something? Yeah. He could have used like a face-off type movie with Nick Cage to kind of bring something out of him, but he's very monotone.
I feel that's the thing with Keanu Reeves, which is why I think the John Wick's movies are so good, is because they understand, is he the greatest like deep emotional actor? Not really, but he's really good at the action stuff and playing it simple.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing, by the way. Not everyone needs to be deep and really great at getting into like complex emotional characters.
Yeah.
I love Keanu Reeves as an actor, but I can say he's been in a lot of bad movies, or he's had really bad performances, because that's not the type of actor he is.
Yeah.
And seems kind of like the case with this one as well.
He has to like infiltrate the surfer world, and it's just very weird.
Whoa.
I don't know.
Whoa, bro.
But Patrick Swayze's always awesome. I would recommend this, but you got to be prepared, because I can't think of a more 90s movie ever than Point Break.
So Patrick Swayze is one of those actors where I recognize the name. I never recognize his face, though, and I don't think I've ever seen him in a movie before.
Have you seen Ghost?
Nope.
Holy crap. You got to watch Ghost.
That's one with Demi Moore, right?
Yeah,
I've never seen it. I've heard of it. Yeah, never seen Dirty Dancing, Donnie Darko.
What?
I've
You never seen Donnie Darko?
I've heard a lot about
it. It would be up like your movie.
I know.
Like you'd have a tattoo of the Donnie Darko rabbit.
Yeah, I'm looking at all these.
Black Dog is an underrated, fantastic movie. I'm just gonna pick out a few that I've definitely seen for you here. But what the hell was the other one I was just thinking of?
I don't think I've seen any of these.
Oh, Roadhouse. That one's all right. They just did a remake of that, but
I've heard he's really great though every time.
Yeah.
I just never see him in anything.
I would recommend Point Break but you have to know what you're in for.
I have to watch.
So, all right.
Yeah. All right. I, as you guys know, have been doing my Kaguya-sama watch through, and I guess because we usually do our movies before the TV shows, I'll be talking about. I mean, do you want me to talk about this right now or jump into the show? Because technically, the movie takes place after the season of television. Up to you, because you have season 3 here of Kaguya-sama, which I finally finished up with my friend. I don't really have too much to say about it that I haven't said already on the podcast, so I'll keep it quick, but just say I feel like I probably watched this show wrong by binging tons of episodes in a row only once every 2 to 4 weeks when I was over at my friend's house. It all kind of like meshed together, and I feel like I'd get really invested, and then I'd kind of forget what was going on, and then get really reinvested again. So I think even though I had probably a bad watching experience, it shows just how good the show is, because I still really liked it.
Yeah.
I don't think I like it as much as other people do because of that experience, but still, I would always say, I 100% recommend this show. It's super entertaining, super fun. The characters are super great. Especially, I actually really liked the last season, and more specifically, I guess, the final arc there of the kind of like the festival, where you get to see kind of like everything finally coming together. I will say the one slightly disappointing thing is that I think it's Fujiwara. She really doesn't have much of a role near the end of this show. And funnily enough, like Ishigami has a much larger role, since they give him like his own little thing to do. The only thing they do with Fujiwara is, hey, there's this guy going around that's like the masked thief. And she's like, I'm going to solve it. And then she just disappears from the show constantly unless she comes back in. And she doesn't really tie much into the plot. But it does really lead to the kind of like the moment. Have you read this entire thing or watched the show at all?
I've watched I think the first 2 seasons of
Okay.
it.
So I won't spoil anything, because I do really like this show quite a bit. But it does the show ends with the moment that the entire show's been building up to, obviously.
Is that what the movie is?
And the movie is kind of like the epilogue for the show then, which I really like. Because the movie is then kind of like, I guess slight spoilers there on the picture, but the movie is then just like, okay, this happened, now where does it's more about like the beginning, like, the show's all been about like, their journey to like revealing to each other this thing, and then the movie's all about, okay, where do they go from there? And my friend actually really and I guess not dislikes, but finds the ending to this really disappointing because it, like, let's say there's no time jump. It's just like the immediate, like, afterward, or it's just like, okay, they kind of have to decide these things, and then they say something, and then the show just ends. Which to him was slightly disappointing because, you don't really get to see, let's say, like, slight spoilers for quintessential quintuplets, but you get to cut to a year later and see, like, hey, where are the characters now a year later?
Right.
This doesn't do that. You don't get to see, okay, how did this grow some time from now? It's just like here's where they are in the moment and where they're deciding to take things from here, and then it ends. I don't mind that too much. It's really hard to end stuff, and I think I've said this multiple times for any TV show. It's really hard to give a finalization, especially on shows where you get very invested in the characters, because you want to know every single little thing that happens in their lives for the rest of their lives, essentially. This show doesn't give you that, but it kind of reminded me that that's not the point of the show. I mean, you just look at the name, Love is War. It's about that idea there. And when they come to the conclusion of that idea, the show ends. You can have all these ideas of where you think things go from there, but that's not what the show is about, and I actually didn't mind.
Where do you find the
after
movie?
That. It's all on Crunchyroll.
And
so actually, the weird thing with the movie is it's on Crunchyroll as like season 4 for 4 episodes. They did they did the thing where they broke it up into 4 episodes.
Okay. But it's dubbed.
But it's dubbed, yeah.
All right.
I can't recommend this show enough. I do, maybe one day when I get a lot more free time on my hand, I want to experience this show in a more stable format, or maybe I'll read it. That might be the thing I can do, is like, hey, I'm on one of my New York City trips, I'll download it and read it and experience it that way. I think once again, by the way, this show, you can tell, or this manga really inspired 100 Girlfriends, because there's a lot of similar types of ideas that they have that they do later in 100 Girlfriends. Because I think even in the show itself, especially because the narrator is very fourth wall breaky, where they can do the thing where it's just like, oh, they skipped this or changed the order of this in from the manga, so this might be confusing here for you manga readers, why this, or we had to change this around, or they kind of make fun of that.
It is on the Shonen Jump app, so people out there think it's $2.99 a month. You get to read this entire thing. So.
But yeah, I do rarely recommend this show if you want a good rom-com, and you can tell how it's inspired so much other stuff since then, including like 100 Girlfriends, which I think just takes it and just cranks the insanity up to 100 instead.
Which, if you're gonna take off of something, then you should crank it up a bit. All right, I watched Until Dawn Awake this time, and
did it help?
It was fine. 2.6 out of 5 sounds about right. The characters are a little more likable than I originally. The first time around I saw it, I was just kind of annoyed by, especially this lady on the right. She's just kind of strange. She's like a possessed. She's kind of like a medium, but not really. Nobody believes her, but then all of a sudden she's like, the power of the darkness is inside. It's like, what the hell's going on? This lady on the left, I've never seen her in anything before, but she was pretty good. It was a pretty good cast. Now, what did I expect this movie was going to be? I thought it was going to be Happy Death Day, but with 5 characters stuck in a house. In Happy Death Day, the lady has to find out who her killer is, and she keeps dying every time.
Yeah, I need to see that movie.
And wakes back up. Right. So the whole concept is that every time she dies, she wakes back up in her bed, remembering everything else that happened. And that's kind of what happens here. Well, it is what happens here. But the thing that kind of throws it for a loop is that when they die, there's that sequence we talked about last week on the cell phone. They've died so much at this point that they don't remember how many times they've died. Oh, how long have we been here? 2-3 nights? And the girl on the left, every time she wakes back up, she's signing her name in the log, like the visitor's log. She's like, no, I saw it today. We're at 13 tries. But this is where it gets weird. They add in the Wendigo situation from the Until Dawn game. and the more nights that they get killed and respawned is the more that the people start turning into Wendigos. It's very strange. It's a fine movie. Some of the kills are just skipped, and it's very irritating because you could have done a whole lot. You have a cast of 5 main characters. There's really like 7 or 8. But you could have done a ton and had a lot of fun with these kills. But they just kind of gloss over them, and it just kind of made it boring. They needed to stick to the formula, keep repeating this death thing, and have them adventure. Like, they get further and further into the night. I'm gonna spoil one thing. It's one of the deaths. I'm gonna spoil it.
I had a quick question.
Yeah.
Is this like, even though I haven't seen it, I do know a lot about the movie, which is why I want to watch it. But I know the thing that makes Happy Death Day work really well is you get to see and experience each try she goes through, basically, right?
Oh yeah, they skip about
this
7
movie,
or 8 of them.
that's what I'm saying. Like, this movie doesn't really let you do that, right?
No, they do it for the first couple nights, but then they keep showing the clock with the sand in it flip over, click, 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 click.
Yeah,
and then they just kind of skip it.
Because, like, you're not in the same mindset then as the characters. Because, like, in Happy Death Day to You, every time something kind of goes wrong and she has to reset, you're stuck with that same frustration, but also intrigue of, okay, what can we do to make it different?
Right.
Whereas now, as the audience member, you're like, well, I don't know what they have and haven't tried at this point. So you're all of a sudden not in the same mindset as the audience. Or as
right.
the
they
characters.
don't do that as much as Happy Death Day. I don't remember the second one as much.
The second one is like, from what I remember seeing, like, because it's like kill counts and stuff I watch of it, is real weird with like time travel type stuff.
It was like a time travel loop and whatever.
Yeah.
But at one point they do try something different, and they try and go into this bathroom where they're all sitting there, and they drink. The faucet starts working, and everyone who drinks the water literally explodes as though they had dynamite inside of them. Very, very odd. I don't really understand, because the plan was, oh, let's just camp out. So they have all these weird things happening, this ghostly stuff, kind of random. And then there's this dude who's dressed up like, is it Rami Malek's character?
Yeah,
with
like
the mask?
with the weird clown mask thing.
And he just goes around and just starts killing them. It's,
you know, that's the thing. The thing that's different about, like, let's say Happy Death Day, where that seems like a puzzle, where it's just like, what is the correct thing I need to do to survive this day? And you get to kind of like a mystery movie where you get to kind of put together the clues and things to do that. Does this movie have that same kind of aspect? Or since you're not, so as I say, because you're not following them every single time, it's really hard to put, let's say, the different clues together, because you're not there experiencing every piece of the puzzle or thing they attempt to do every bit of the way.
It should be more of those attempts, and they do this thing where one of the characters died, so they're like, oh, I don't think we should survive, because the goal is to survive until dawn.
Yeah.
But one of the characters dies, and they're like, oh, we can't leave Sarah behind, whatever her name is. So they kill each other. But they don't do it enough for it to be interesting.
Yeah.
They skip like 7 straight days, and then the dude's got it on his cell phone. I don't understand why you couldn't just... You could have like mini montages or something, like, oh, we have to get to this boathouse over here, and this is how we died. It doesn't have to be a 30-minute scene.
There's different ways to approach it, because I forget, have you watched any of ReZero at all?
No, not really.
All right, I like... As I probably said before, it's like probably one of my top 5 animes of all time. But they have a very similar kind of idea where it's like, you know, he'll die and have to like restart stuff.
Yeah.
And they have an interesting thing where with that, something will always be slightly different the second time. So that way he can't just, for instance, just like, oh, I'm just going to keep killing myself until I get the right answer. Because like one time this person showed up, and then they were late the second time, or like they had a different mood or something, where it's just, so that way you can't just be like that. Like you can have that kind of approach where it's not, it's less of a mystery of the idea of, okay, let me figure out the exact puzzle to solve here, and then that will let you escape.
Which could have made more interesting, because you have 5 different people trying to solve the puzzle.
Yeah. And
So
it seems like they try to go in between, where it's like there's sort of a puzzle, but also things are slightly different maybe each time they restart.
yeah, and then the eventual reality is that it wasn't a puzzle. I'll leave it there. So you got to be in the mood for this kind of thing, but it's a decent enough watch. It's fine. It's not horrible. It's definitely not as bad as I thought when I originally heard the announcement.
Yeah, but you'd say it's like average.
So, yeah, this 2.6 out of 5. All these ratings, this 3 and 2.5. That's very fair. People have been fair with this one.
Gotcha.
And the characters, the first time around I watched, I think because I was so tired, I didn't like them at all. But the second time was interesting.
All right. I only watched the first episode because I think I had mentioned previously they finally just dropped all the episodes of the dub at once or something. And we couldn't get, because when my friend was over, we couldn't get Plex to work. And I'll talk to you about that. Actually, there's a whole thing going on with Plex right now where you can't watch things remotely anymore. You have to pay for a subscription or type thing. But we couldn't get Fate to work, so I started this because I was like, I really like the manga. And we were watching Kaguya-sama, and so I was like, here's a different kind of, romance. It's more of like a sports romance. And yeah, it's a pretty good adaptation. I think there's just a lot of people not talking about it because there's nothing like that puts it above, let's say, the manga. Because, like, for instance, I'd say Jujutsu Kaisen, the best way to experience that is watching it. Because the animation just adds that layer. Same thing with Demon Slayer. Like Attack on Titan, you think of all like the big manga turned animes, it's because they did something unique with it. And I haven't really gotten to the sports stuff yet, so maybe that will change my mind a little bit, how they represent that. Sure. But from what I have seen, it just seems very standard by the book type stuff. So I guess what I'll say is, if you don't read manga at all, I would highly recommend watching the show. It does, and this isn't me saying it has low quality, by the way. It's still very high quality. Right. I like the voice actors they have for a lot of stuff. My friend who I watched it with did really, because at first same thing with me, and that's why I was like, they better not end the first episode before where they ended the first chapter, because you need to know that kind of hook, and you kind of find it entertaining. Slight spoilers for the first chapter / first episode, but at first they're just like the whole, she's gonna move away, and he's like, I have to do this before the thing, and my friend is, it's gonna be the whole deadline thing, and then immediately she goes, no, I'm not going anywhere, and he goes, they got me with that. Like, I thought it was gonna be the whole super cliche, I gotta do this by the deadline type thing. And then they do, what I won't say is that little twist at the end then, where it's just like, okay, here's the little quirk / unexpected kind of twist they do to this whole thing. Yeah. And he did like that a lot. So maybe we'll watch some more of it. I highly recommend it. I still read the manga. It's still very enjoyable. It definitely feels like the manga is getting towards the end. But I really like this. Super Eye Patch Wolf talked about this like 2 or 3 years ago when the manga first started airing. It was like his favorite new thing that had released. And I do really like it a lot. But yeah, that's first episode impressions, really.
Yeah, and I think that's the kind of perfect way, especially for like a medium budget type of story. Like, obviously the budgets for Demon Slayer and those kinds of things are going to be higher, but all you have to do is do it justice so that people who don't read can watch a series and enjoy it. Is the voice acting is good?
Oh yeah. Okay. You got the guy who voices the main character from Demon Slayer is the main character here. He sounds exactly the same, I was like, it wasn't the exact voice I was expecting for him, but he does a good job. I think Zach Aguilar is a great voice actor. That's cool. the name of the voice actor. So he does a good job, just not maybe the voice I was expecting. It's unfortunate because Chono, the girl on the left there, is voiced by one of those voice actresses that crashed out for the whole Genshin Impact thing that happened with like the strikes and stuff.
Right.
But it's still a good performance, and I like the character a lot, and I'm able to separate the art from the artist when I do the stuff, so I can do that. The girl on the right, though, very well cast. I really like her a lot, and because at first you get this idea of, she's like this emotionless, very stoic character, and this idea of that's not exactly the case, and I think the voice actress nails that, kind of treading the fine line really well with the performance.
All right, we're gonna give you what we got next time, and then we're gonna talk about Thunderbolts. So on Tuesday, I'm seeing Clown in a Cornfield.
What is this? Because all of a sudden, I'd never heard about this movie till today, and a bunch of my friends were posting about it all of a sudden, and I'm like, what the heck is this thing?
Oh yeah, so you know the classic people move to a small town. Says I didn't know corn syrup factory burned down, but it's a slasher, possibly have some spooks in it, but I'm gonna give it a try, see how it is. There's not much out this week, I don't believe, so
yeah,
this is just kind of filling the gap. Something happened, I don't know what it is, but I burned through Lost seasons 1 through 5 in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And I have fallen off. It has taken me so long to get through season 6, and I can't quite put my finger on it, but I'm gonna finish it this week and talk about that. And the last thing, there's no way I'm finishing this week. This Pokemon Emerald Imperium, I've talked about it before. It is by far the hardest Pokemon game, and it's not even close, that I've ever played. Now there's like Radical Red and a bunch of different ones that are supposed to be equally as difficult. But there are people who are doing like Nuzlocks of this. It is so difficult to get through. And I'm going to give like an update on that. So do you have anything for...
I don't really have much that I can think about. I'll probably just talk about all the magic reveals that they're going to be doing for Final Fantasy. Okay. That's this weekend. But I don't have any plans for anything. We'll see what happens though.
All right, well, that'll do it for us. One of us has to go into work now for...
Yeah.
Oh, my God. I shouldn't have said it. All right, that'll do it for us. Thanks for watching. Let us know what you think. Have you seen Thunderbolts? Is that something on your agenda, or any of the other movies we've talked about here? That'll do it for us. Thanks for watching.
Peace.